Let's take a trip to Candlestick Point State Recreation Area.
Hi, my name is Charli, and I'm an interpreter here at Candlestick Point State Recreation Area, the first urban state park in the California State Park System. What an urban park means is that we are a state park right in the middle of San Francisco, California. And instead of being surrounded by nature, we are right in the middle of a city. So there are lots of outdoor activities that you can do here, but because we're an urban space, that means we have a lot more people. So when we're thinking about how to be respectful for our environment, there are a lot of things that we need to think about to make sure that we're leaving the park better than we found it.
Hi, my name is Veronica Miranda. I'm a program coordinator with Latino Outdoors in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm also an engagement coordinator for Parks California, specifically working here at Candlestick Point State Recreational Area. I'm currently at Jackrabbit Picnic area, and one of the things about Leave No Trace is to make sure to pack everything that you pack in, make sure to pack it out, because the wildlife tends to come and eat it. If you look very closely, there's little squirrels that tend to come around this area because a lot of people leave things behind. So I'm going to take you closer to the ground to see some of the items that things tend to be left behind. So just from standing right here, I'm going to show you some of the things that are commonly left behind. So here we have a bottle cap. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put that in my bucket. It was Easter yesterday, so there's some Easter egg, half of one that was left over. Here I see it's just a piece of plastic. It looks like it was from like a water bottle. So I'm gonna put that there. This looks like an insole from someone's shoe. Go ahead and put that in there. Sometimes when people have parties, decorations get left behind. So you can't really see it, but it's just like a little gold piece of plastic. So as I was walking down this ADA friendly path, I noticed some trash here on the floor. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my trash picker, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up so I can dispose of it properly and it won't go into the water. So we're not only saving the bay, but we're also saving any animal from being enticed to consume it. And we're respecting nature in the process. So I'm gonna go ahead, look for anything else that might be in here. Oh, there's another one of those little gold flakes that I saw. And see this, I had seen one of the little gold flakes actually over in the picnic area, and because of the wind it flew all the way over here to this fencing area and almost made it out into the bay. But I'm gonna go ahead and save it from the bay by disposing of it. There's another one. Oh, I see there's actually quite a few things in here. So if you stop and you look a little closer at what's in front of you when you're on the trails, you'll be able to find out that there's quite a lot that sometimes gets left behind. So now I saved it. I'm gonna dispose of it properly. So I'm currently on Jackrabbit Beach. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk over here where the plants start and where the sand stops. And usually, because it's so windy here, trash gets blown out here and it gets caught inside the grassy area. So I'm gonna see what I can find in there. So I got my bucket and I got my trash picker. Right away I found a candy wrapper. There's a piece of plastic, more plastic. So most of the paths here at Candlestick are very ADA friendly and are pretty flat. And you get beautiful views of the bay and you get to see a little history. If you look all the way out in the distance, there's a large crane, and that used to be the Navy shipyard. And it closed down in the late 1960s, early 1970s. And the shipyard's still there. The remains of it are still there. So if you come out here, you can see a little bit of history in the San Francisco Bay.
When we're outdoors, it's also really important to remember that this isn't just our playground. This is also the home of a lot of plants and animals. And so when you're outside, it's really important to respect the wild creatures that call these outdoor places their homes. That means that, we don't bother animals that are just hanging out and doing their own thing. We don't throw things at them or try to chase them away. That also means that we don't feed animals. Well, that might seem a little complicated. It really is simple. Animals have a natural diet of things that they find in the environment. And when we choose to feed them human foods like chips or rice or crackers or nuts, we're changing their natural diet. For some animals, that can make their stomachs hurt and can make them sick. For other animals, that can make them really dependent on humans. So instead of being afraid of humans and thinking and doing things that will help keep them safe, that means that they're going to come up to humans and try to get attention and food, and that could put them in danger. So when you see wildlife, take pictures, enjoy looking at them in their natural environment, but be sure to keep your distance and make sure that their homes remain a safe place for them and that we're not putting ourselves too much in their lives, because this is their home, not ours.
So there's lots of squirrels that live here in the park, and they're not afraid of humans anymore, and they come really close. So this one here is curious as to what I'm doing as I'm filming, but he's about, let me see, my foot's right here. So he's about 2.5, 3 feet away from me. Oh, and here comes another buddy. And they're not scared of humans because people tend to give them candy, sometimes chips, sometimes they give him bird seeds. And see, he's coming close to me because he thinks that I have something for him, but I actually don't. So we always have to remember to respect wildlife as much as possible. So see, he's looking for food and he's trying to go into my bucket. So please make sure that if you go picnicking or go somewhere where there's going to be wildlife, to make sure to pack everything that you packed in, make sure to pack everything out.
When we talk about respecting our environment and leaving things better than we found it, one of the important things to keep in mind is that includes leaving what you find outdoors. That includes things like flowers, leaves, plants, and things that you find that could be cultural resources. State parks are an amazing repository of both natural and cultural resources. And even though we don't oftentimes think of something like a flower or like a little piece of glass like this as a natural or cultural resource, sometimes these things have a lot of importance, and so it's better to leave things where you find them. This piece of glass, for example, is a relic from the 1906 earthquake because Candlestick Point is on a former landfill site. So this piece of glass, even though it could easily be something that others view as trash, is actually a piece of history from over 100 years ago. And we want to make sure that it stays in its where it was found so that it can continue to be a learning resource for the future. When we're talking about natural resources, things like flowers, leaves, plant materials, those things are part of a larger ecosystem. And so even though they might be a cool thing to take home, we want to make sure that they stay in their environment so that they can continue to be food for the animals that live here, or homes, or part of shelter materials. So it's really great to look at things, but make sure that you put them back when you're done with them instead of bringing them home as a souvenir.
So this is the meadow area for Candlestick. This is where we have jackrabbits that live here. So if you ever come to Candlestick and you see a jackrabbit, make a wish, because we see them every now and then, but it's a really treat when you see them. A lot of squirrels also live here, and there's a lot of birds here as well. And sometimes you see red-tailed hawks that they swoop down to find something to eat. But as Charlie said, we're in an urban development, and this is an urban park. So in the background, there's a lot of housing. So it's a park that's, one, that's accessible to neighborhoods. 2, it's ADA friendly. 3, you get to see a lot of wildlife. But 4, we have to work together to take care of spaces like this. even though it's not a mountain area or it's not, somewhere in the hills or on the ocean, there's still a lot of wildlife here that we need to protect. And anything you pack in, we have to pack it out. And we have to respect everything that's here. So, like Charli said, let's not pick anything here. You can pick it up, you can see it, if it's a flower, you can smell it, but leave it here because this is an ecosystem that's going to thrive on its own. And we don't want to do any harm to the area. So Charli mentioned about all the rubble that was brought here from the 1906 earthquake, and here you can see a little bit that was left in this area, and it's actually along the shore over as you go more northeast of the park. And so I'm actually standing on some, and you see here there's this, these old iron rods here, and they're just along the park here, but this is because this was the old dump site. It's the history of the park. So before you leave your home to come to visit a park, always remember, leave no trace principle, plan and prepare. Always take note of the times of the opening and closures of the park. Here there's a sign that says that the gates close at 5. So I need to make sure to allow myself enough time from wherever I am in the park to be able to walk back to my car. So right now it's getting close to 5, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack all my stuff out, and I'm going to head towards my car so I can make sure to get out the gates before they close on me. So I disposed of all the garbage that I picked up. It's about 4:30, so I don't want to be here past the time when the gates close. As part of plan and prepare, kind of make sure to be respectful of the workers' times, and I'm going to head back to my car. Bye, thank you. Charli, I have a question for you. What's the best way for the community to get involved in with the parks?
That's a great question, Veronica. Well, there are so many ways that we can get involved with our local parks. My favorite way is just do a Google search on what you want to do. If that's a beach cleanup, there are amazing beach cleanup events that happen all the time, including on Coastal Cleanup Day. There's also a lot of stewardship projects like cleaning up trash. Parks need so much help because we really depend on volunteers and people in our local communities to help us take care of our parks. There aren't enough park workers like me to do all of this work by ourselves. So we have tons of opportunities. If you don't find something online, call up your local park and ask, how can I help? And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to do something. Thanks for watching.
Hi everyone. So Charli, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Charli. I am an interpreter at Candlestick Point State Recreation Area. And basically what an interpreter means is that I am someone who helps people understand and discover things about their natural and cultural environment here at a state park. I'm located at Candlestick Point State Recreation Area, which was the first urban state park in California that really came together because a community here in Southeast San Francisco said, we deserve to have beautiful open spaces just like every other part of California. So we've been living that history for over the last 50 years or 45 years, and we're really excited to keep going into the future and bringing parks values into the city environment.
Oh, amazing. My name is Veronica Miranda. I'm a program coordinator with Latino Outdoors, but I also work alongside Charli at the park. I work for Parks California. And so I get to work with Charli, and I get to see Candlestick on a daily basis, and we get to work together. So we both see a lot of impact that the park gets, whether it's waste that's left behind. Sometimes we see people feeding the animals. Sometimes we see the animals just attack the picnic tables because people leave food. I mean, people are barbecuing, and just animals. The squirrels have become so used to the human and the human foods that they just hop on the tables and will literally walk up to your hand because they think you have food. And what we want to do with sharing with Leave No Trace is to be able to to care for these spaces when you visit these spaces. Now, with Leave No Trace, their Leave No Trace principles, there's actually 7 of them. So the first one is plan ahead and prepare. The second one is travel and camp on durable surfaces. The third one is dispose of waste properly. The fourth is leave what you find. The fifth is minimize campfire impacts. The sixth is respect wildlife. And the seventh is be considerate of other visitors. And so with the video that we did, we really focused on the main 4. Plan ahead and prepare, dispose of waste properly, and leave what you find, and respect wildlife. Charli, what other animals live in the park?
So even though we are an urban state park, we actually have quite a few species that you can't find anywhere else in San Francisco. So we have the black-tailed jackrabbit, which is a beautiful, really long-eared jackrabbit. We also are the only place in San Francisco that has gopher snakes, as well as the California ground squirrel, which Veronica featured heavily in the video. They're very common in other parts of California, but this is the only place that we can find them here in San Francisco. We also have an amazing collection of shorebirds. We have over 2 miles of shoreline in our park. So we really have a lot of different kinds of birds that are migrating through Candlestick or who live here year round. And if any of you have been around birds, you know that they're really curious creatures. So if we're not taking care of our trash, if we're leaving things over, they're going to start exploring a leftover balloon. They're going to start digging in the trash. And a lot of those things are really hard for them to digest and can really hurt them. So even if you can't see animals all the time when you're in an urban park like Candlestick, there are lots of animals that either come out at night, come out in the evening, in the mornings, or are just kind of hidden because they're really good at hiding. So we have lots of animals here.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing about Candlestick is a very, very windy park. If you could see in the video, it's just windy. I would say after 11 o'clock, the wind just becomes really, really strong. So any waste that's left behind, it blows out into the bay. So we're always out there. We're always cleaning up any type of waste that we see, any like food, any wrappers, especially the wrappers, because the wrappers are so light that the wind just picks them up and then it goes into the bay, and then birds or like fish eat them, or fish can die because they can consume them thinking that they're actually food when it's it's a waste. A lot of it's plastic. Plastic is very harmful. Our social media guru Christian is in the background, and he just dropped a link for the seven principles of Leave No Trace. But another thing with the Leave No Trace organization is they actually have a lot of resources for youth, and they have a youth education not center. It's a program where they can do online. They can be online facilitators as well. So if you're an educator, or if you're someone that wants to learn more about Leave No Trace principles with your organization, you can actually sign up for one of the programs. And so, Charli, do you mind sharing with the viewers the new library state pass?
Yeah. So with this new governor that we have, who I guess at this point isn't that new anymore, the first partner has made state parks one of her central tenets of her time in the governor's mansion. And so the newest part of that is the California State Library Park Pass. So what that is if you have a library card, you can get a library card from whatever city you live in for absolutely free. If you are under 18, you just need a parent with you. And then what you're able to do is you're able to go and visit your local library, and they will give you a park pass. And it's basically a parking pass that allows you and your family to go to over 200 state parks, beaches, and forests for free. That doesn't include things like tours. It doesn't include, if you bring a whole school bus, but we do offer a lot of field trips at different parks, but you and your family are able to explore state parks without having to worry about that parking cost, which can add up. Here at Candlestick Point, we are not part of that program because our park is always free. But for the more popular, not popular, for the more visited parks, it's a really great opportunity to explore something new to you. Most people live within about 25 miles of a state park or state beach. So there are so many opportunities for you that you can check out the one of these links over here, and they will show you your local library branches. Also, if you Google the California State Park Pass program, you can get an entire map of California, and you can Google your address, and it'll show you all of the participating parks that are within whatever miles you want to do. I looked up at my house. I live in Oakland, California, and there were over 30 parks that I could reach within about 30 miles of my house.
Awesome. I love, actually, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, one of my favorite Cal State parks is Samuel P. Taylor, which is up north of Marin County, and it has beautiful redwoods, and it has a campground. It has a group campground, and there's lots of trails, and it's just gorgeous. So if you can, please go check out one of the 250 California state parks. If there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer them. We'll give people like a couple minutes. Oh, let's see. Luis Villa said, Charli and Vera, where does your passion for protecting the environment come from? Or what inspired it? Charli, would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first?
Why don't you go ahead first, Veronica?
Okay. So I have to give my love for the outdoors credit to my husband, Carlos. Growing up, we went to, our parents, they took us to Seacliff over in Santa Cruz. And that was like the big, like, oh, this is the family time that we're going to do. And so we'd pack everything up and go to the beach and stay, go over to the beach and spend the whole day there. And it wasn't until he's my husband now, but then he was my boyfriend. We went camping in Yosemite. And it was the first time I had ever seen like a really dense forest. And it's about 2.5 hours, sometimes 3-hour drive from San Francisco. And so when I woke up, we were going through tunnel view. And so you have that view of like iconic view of El Cap and Half Dome. And I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Where are we? It was amazing and beautiful. And I saw a bear for the first time, scared me to death. But I seen a bear. I camped for the first time. I got to swim in the cold river for the first time. And it was amazing. And I owe credit to my husband for showing me the outdoors, and that built a love for the outdoors, but also a sense of learning about protecting the outdoors, because there's a lot of things that we as people who recreate have to get involved to take care of these open spaces. So I give it up to my husband, Carlos.
And I guess for me, there are two big things that got me interested in this work. I didn't grow up camping very much, but my dad was an angler. He was a fisherman. And looking back on it, it's really interesting because I didn't really think of those trips as like me being an outdoorsy person. I was a huge bookworm, so my dad would bring fishing poles. We'd go out on a boat or go out on the side of the Delta. And for a lot of those experiences, I was along for the ride. So I'd bring my book, I'd lay in the sun, and, little 10-year-old me, like, that was being outdoors. And I didn't really put the pieces together until I was in high school. And I was part of a really amazing stewardship program called the Arcade Creek Project in Sacramento, California. And basically, it took high school juniors and seniors, and we all had a job. And we were a part of this 10-year science program to keep our local creek clean, to make sure that there were no pollutants coming into it, to try to reintroduce salmon into that stream. And I was on the outreach team. So my job was to go out and talk to people about it. And I realized that by talking about the outdoors, by modeling the kind of behaviors that we were trying to support in that program, um, that a lot of the experiences that I had growing up were outdoor experiences. Yeah, I wasn't going out and skiing like some of my friends. I wasn't camping at Yosemite every weekend, but just going outside and hanging out with my dad by a river, enjoying some fishing, like was outdoor recreation. And so that really inspired me to become a scientist and then later on to become an interpreter to, again, just show my love for the outdoors and for recreating responsibly and modeling good behavior and hopefully inspiring others to get outside.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that. Did you, with seeing, when you released the salmon, was it salmon eggs or were they like baby salmons?
They were baby salmon. So we did that once or twice, but they're also, it was more about that the Arcade Creek is a tributary of the American River. So there are androgynous fish that do come in there. California rainbow trout historically had gone through that, but it had gotten so polluted through actually folks' lawns. You know, you get your lawn, you know, you put all your fertilizers in it and then you water your lawn and all of that water goes into your local storm drain and all of that water was going into Arcade Creek. So it became a really unsafe, really gross creek. And so we had worked for, you know, I was just in it for 2 years while I was in high school, but they'd had generations of students working on it. And now the project's been around for about 25 years and the water quality is better than ever. And we're now starting to see a few trout finding their way into Arcade Creek that hadn't been able to be there for years and years.
Oh my God, that's amazing. You know, I don't think that I realized how much, you know, we coexist with the environment and with nature and how everything that we do kind of, you know, affects the planet. So, you know, it's good to know these things. I didn't know that like when we fertilize, well, I don't have lawn, I live in an apartment, but growing up, we had a house and I know we used to fertilize our lawn. So I didn't know that that would make an impact on the streams. Wow.
Yeah. And
really
that's
good to
one
know.
of the great things about Leave No Trace is that it really is all about that shared responsibility. Our little actions can seem really small, good or bad, when we're just thinking about ourselves, but we are all connected. So if we all collectively decide to make small, good decisions, that has a really big, amazing impact. And if, on the other hand, we decide, I don't need to pick up that trash, that's not my problem, someone else will do it, you know, you multiply that by all the people, that's a really big, bad impact. So Leave No Trace really models that, you know, by working together and feeling and leaving things better than we find them, that we can all collectively make our environment a better place for plants, animals, and people.
Mm-hmm. When we go out, either whether it's like out fishing or whether my family goes camping, anytime we go on a hike or if we're just going out hanging out by either the lake or the river, I always bring a plastic bag with me and a couple of gloves. And I always pick things up as I see them because, you know, it's important to keep them out. And if you're spending your time on that land, you know, you want to be respectful of the land and, you know, clean it up. I mean, even though other people leave things behind, I mean, you don't have to leave them behind, you know? Yeah. Let's see if there's any more questions. Let me see. We'd be happy to answer them, but I don't see any. I know Garcia thanked us for sharing our stories. And then she said she's from Bakersfield and she lives next to the sequoias. That's a beautiful park.
That is a beautiful park, and I'm pretty sure that that's one of the 200 that is part of the parks program. So if that parking fee is one of the things that, you know, adds up the costs of making a trip over there, it's definitely worth checking out.
Definitely. Let me see here. Let me see. I don't see any more comments. So, thank you, everyone. Charli, thank you for your time. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And then we still have more events coming up for the Semillitas Outdoors Week. So go ahead and tune in to all your social media channels. And thank you so much, Charli, for your time.
Thank you, Veronica, for the invitation. And thank you all for joining us.
And don't forget, come visit us at Candlestick. Bye, everyone.
Bye.